Hello and welcome to Cliff Reviews Art House. This time I'm reviewing Babylon, directed by Damien Chazelle. Now, the first Damien Chazelle film I saw was Whiplash, and I really enjoyed this film and watched it several times. Then I saw La La Land and First Man, and I didn't like them as much, but they were okay. I think that Babylon is by far my least favourite Chazelle film. I'm not sure whether you'd call Babylon a musical, but there's a lot of music in it, and at times it felt very choreographed. So I'll start by acknowledging that musicals aren't my genre, except for Disney, of course, where I do have a soft spot. Also, the 20s and 30s as a period don't do as much for me as they seem to do for others. So I can understand why people would have a different opinion than me if they like these genres. When I watched La La Land with its big set-piece opening scene of people singing and dancing on top of their cars on the freeway, I thought that this is absolutely not for me, this film. However, when I persevered with it, eventually I was somewhat seduced by the romance and music. I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it. Now, my heart sank when I saw that Babylon also opens with a big set piece. It feels so choreographed as the camera swoops around the big wild party. In fact, a lot of the time, the whole film feels choreographed and staged. This is portraying a world that's materialistic, it's expensive, it's decadent, definitely not likeable. Someone's dead, but the party goes on. It's a crazy world, and it just didn't hook me in. I never really cared about the characters. At 3 hours, it's just tedious and all over the place. At times, it's ridiculous. I found myself rolling my eyes on multiple occasions. The film is an extravaganza of the grotesque, and it culminates in the scene with Tobey Maguire in a kind of cave tunnel. It just felt misjudged and over the top. It felt like there were elements of Nightmare Alley or even Mother at this point, but both those films are so much better. I found the ending somewhat odd. We get an ode to film at the end with lots of different clips, and I'm not sure whether I'm supposed to be wowed by this. In fact, my reading of the film is that I think I am supposed to be wowed. So what seems like a cynical film about Hollywood turns out not to be cynical at all. It swims in the shit for the whole film, but in the end it turns out to love it. I found the sudden changes in tone in the film to be a bit clumsy. The film spends 90% of the time disgusting me, then suddenly plays sentimental music to create a little magical moment of romance or movie magic. It really felt like there was a lack of consistency and coherency. For 3 hours, this was a bit of a sprawling mess. In terms of trying to say something positive, I can say that there's something interesting about the film in terms of how fragile and makeshift production can be, yet it becomes magical when seen on the screen. And there's something interesting about showing at a practical level what it was like when suddenly filmmakers had to be aware of the sounds that they were making when recording a film. I like when the crew are reminded to wear rubber soles so you can't hear footsteps on the recording. This is a mistake I've made when trying filmmaking, forgetting that the sound will record my footsteps as well as the other sounds. The dialogue in the film often sounds contemporary. For example, the use of curse words in the film sounds modern. I quite like this. I just watched Chevalier and that film does the same. I don't need historical portrayals to feel dated. Although I didn't enjoy this film, I did enjoy some of the actors' performances. Margot Robbie in a very different role than Barbie, and Brad Pitt is a fading actor who's past his best. There were times when Brad Pitt did something with his face that really made him look like Marlon Brando. It wouldn't surprise me if he does some Brando-type roles as he ages. I do think that the cinematography is really impressive, beautifully shot with light and colour, sweeping shots, often quite frenetic camera movements, but this isn't enough to save the film for me. And perhaps it's inevitable when a film has such a big budget, you can employ a lot of the best people to make it, but it still won't be a great film if it's flawed. This is so much about style, decadent, messy. It's like a pus-filled boil that squirts up in your face. Although it makes juvenile comedy out of it, I'm not sure that its portrayal of the grotesque is always done with irony. I think at times the film slips into thinking that the portrayal of the decadence and excess is actually cool, definitely style over substance. At the end of the film, I didn't know what I'm supposed to feel about it. Does it want me to be moved? I think it does. And it wants me to be disgusted. And although these feelings can coexist, Babylon just doesn't pull it off. If you love films about the 20s and 30s with lots of musically choreographed scenes, you may have a different opinion than me. But for me, it's hard to recommend this film. Thanks for watching. See you next time.